Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Mad Nerds, Episode 3, Total Corruption. I am your host, as always, Dave, Superhero Deuce, here with Mike.
Yes, Mike is the Hat on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. That's where you can find me at. I'm glad we're here again for another week, David, to discuss all of the wonderful things that we find so awesome in the nerdy world that we live in.
Yes, it is a very nerdy world, especially with New York Comic-Con happening this week. We're going to do a separate episode covering the New York Comic-Con stuff in case you guys are wondering and you're trying to tune in, wanting our opinions on that. We're going to do a separate episode of that, probably going to come out sometime in the middle of the week once all the news is finished wrapping up and once all the wonderful announcements have finished from that. But we're going to start, as always, with Gotham, Mike. We had Episode 3 this week. It was a very different episode than what we've seen so far. We had a new villain introduced, even if it was only temporarily. Mike, what did you think of this week's episode of Gotham?
Well, we had our look at the Balloon Man, as they were calling him, and that was great, I guess, as a way to build towards, Bruce Wayne eventually becoming Batman. That's what I feel like that was in there for. You saw how much the people of Gotham were trying to get behind that guy while he was trying to deal with the corruption of the GCPD, the mayor's office, going all into that crazy stuff, because it all started with the child trafficking thing from the last episode 2. And this guy saw, like, hey, Gotham's all screwed up. The cops aren't doing anything about it. I'm going to take this into my own hands. He didn't do very well. I mean, he got Ronald Danzer, who was like some rich scheme artist, con man, pyramid scheme guy. We got
the police lieutenant, who was a complete d-bag in all manners of the word.
Yeah, Bill Cranston, Lieutenant Cranston. He was beating on people. You saw him earlier in the episode talking to Gordon, and then he got, as people like to say, by the Balloon Man. And then he got a cardinal, I guess, who had been known to have some sort of, child thing.
Yeah, pretty sick. Your typical Catholic storyline of, a higher up not doing things they're supposed to do. Yeah. And that's the thing against Catholics, by the way. It's just, that seemed to be what was in the news for a very long time.
Exactly. And then his final target, I guess, was Bullock.
Yeah, they actually said it doesn't matter. Like, that was the thing that I thought was most interesting, was at the end of the episode when Gordon said he asked him who his final target was, and he says it doesn't matter. It could have been anybody. This whole city is ruined. Like, it could have been the mayor, it could have been a legislature, and it wouldn't even have made a difference. He's like, this whole city, it wouldn't have mattered. It doesn't matter who my target was. And I'm like, wow, they are really trying to paint a picture of just how crappy this city is, man.
They did a very good job of that, but then there was the whole thing with Cobblepot, the Penguin, coming back. We saw in the trailer that we talked about last week about him killing that guy in the little taxi station. That happened this episode. And then he kind of goes and he gets a job at Maroni's restaurant. So we had our first look at the other mafia boss, Sal Maroni. And now the Penguin, or as he called himself, something very Italian. I think it was like Paolo or something like that.
Yeah.
So that Maroni kind of took to him as Maroni was talking about how he's going to get involved in in Arkham and all that. So now we have like that kind of storyline building into this, this Monday's Coming episode titled Arkham, which hopefully redeems the show after the third episode. Not that the third episode was it was the worst one so far.
Yeah, but, definitely took a few steps back.
We're only 3 weeks in, so you're gonna have some misses at the beginning of a television series, but
yeah, this to me was definitely your typical universe building episode. Like, you had a lot of stuff happen just because it needed to. It didn't necessarily make for an engaging show. Like, I thought the whole thing with Catwoman coming in at the beginning was completely pointless. Like, other than showing that she wasn't lying about being there, it was just really dumb. Like, you could have completely gone without that. The part that I really also didn't like was the Penguin kills that dude, because he's shown now he will murder anybody to get to where he needs to go. He murdered a dude for his shoes. He murdered that guy in the alley so that he wouldn't talk. And then he goes up to the stand to order a sandwich, and he's like, "Hi, I would like a tuna sandwich." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, another pun, another freaking penguin thing. Ah.
At least that was like less like him just being called the Penguin, or the Catwoman thing with the milk. That maybe he just likes to eat sandwiches. That they happen to have a tuna salad sandwich or whatever.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that's like, fish sandwich. Oh, he's a penguin. Ha ha ha. But the thing is, this episode did have its strong points. I liked Maroni. I think Maroni's a good character already, and I like the dynamic that's going to create. Whereas Maroni seems like he's very interested in chaos, Falcone is interested in order and having there be some semblance of organized crime, like he said, in the city. Whereas Maroni just kind of feels like he's out there to take the city down, and I'm like, man, this is getting pretty dark pretty quick. And the Balloon Man, I thought, was a very interesting way to kill people, very comic booky. It's like, yeah, we're going to attach them to a weather balloon, and then they're going to fall. Like, well, they're going to die in the atmosphere, and then their bodies are going to fall because the balloon's going to pop. Well, that's interesting. Created a very interesting scene with the old lady being smushed.
Yeah, and Harvey Bullock going, where'd they get shovels that big?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I thought we saw a lot of Bullock this episode, which, once again, I like. I like his dynamic with Gordon. The one thing I didn't like, and Mike, you agreed with me on this, was the agent from the MCU whose name I'm drawing a complete blank on right now, she's a lesbian in the comics, and they have just thrown this relationship with her and Barbara into the fray. They've shown that, this MCU officer, she did drugs with her, they used to live together, they had this romance, and I'm like, why is this even here? This feels so forced and so stupid.
Yeah, that's Renee Montoya is her name.
Renee Montoya, there you go, thank you.
I don't know why, I guess they're trying to build some sort of backstory for Barbara Keene, but it feels very, very, very forced all the time. It's just like hey.
Yeah, oh hey, I had a key. Like,
hey.
Oh, okay.
Jim Gordon might not be a good guy. Hey.
But I'm also clearly not a good person either. It's just, it bothers me, man. You know what? I like Renee Montoya. I think she's good when she's just being a cop. I don't like this whole idea of the romance. I get it that they're trying to push that she is gay and all that, but from what I've read, she was one of the stronger, lesbian or gay characters in comics altogether, and now they're just kind of throwing that in as just added fodder. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't very much like it at all. It was very, like I keep saying, it's forced. It's just like, it's worse. To me, this is worse than all the ridiculous little puns that they have in the show. Because of how much I don't think it moves anything except trying to make up a weird backstory for Barbara.
Yeah, and also I think just adding to the corruption of Gotham, which it does do. I get that, but the thing there's one other thing that I really liked. I liked the scenes, once again, with Bruce and with Alfred. I thought those were probably the strongest. Once again, they're kind of unnecessary, but one of the strongest scenes in the episode was when they were sword fighting, and you could kind of see that Bruce does have a little bit of anger, but also he saw that, Gotham does need somebody, but killing isn't the answer, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I like this. We're seeing Batman be developed, but ultimately, once again, we're not going to ever probably get a Batman show, so why are we spending so much time on this?
Yeah, you had the police files.
Yep, he was doing detective work. Fancy that.
Yeah, what are you trying to become, a detective?
Absolutely, Alfred.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've read the future.
Yeah, I just really liked what was going on with the whole the Bruce Wayne character so far. Aside from the beginning where he's just screaming like a little girl, but
yeah, I mean
that's to be expected when your parents get shot in front of you, I guess. But it's him and Alfred, the sword fighting, the tough love that Alfred shows him, and you got to see a little bit of Alfred. Alfred was good with his little wooden sword.
Yeah.
You get to see that background of Alfred that he's supposed to have, that little military, the British military background that Alfred has in the comic books. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, the other thing, too, that kind of stems from that, though, is that they've essentially shown that Gotham is deteriorating really fast. So the thing with me is, okay, I thought Gotham was supposed to be at its worst when Batman shows up. That's why he came, is because Gotham's at its worst. It looks like it's about to explode, right now, so I feel like they're just showing that the city is completely deteriorated already. I'm like, there's supposed to be some good in the city left, right?
Yeah, well, that's where Gordon comes in. He has to try and move it to, you know,
Yeah, he has to try to move the needle a little bit.
Find that good. But, I mean, Falcone said it where, since the Waynes have gone down, since the Waynes were murdered, that
the balance.
The city's just kind of trying to find itself. It's balanced. They were two pillars to the same house, I think was the exact wording that he used.
Yeah, exactly. That kept the city together amidst its chaos.
Yeah, so overall, David, I'm going to go ahead and give this episode a 6 out of 10. I think this was, like I said, the weakest episode so far, but it did a lot of things to move a story forward, but it was just kind of a mishmash of a bunch of nonsense that eventually will hopefully pay off in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, Mike? And I had the same score. I had a 6. It had good elements. It didn't completely suck, but at the same time, it could have been better. Like, they've shown what the show can be now, so my expectations have gone up a little bit. And I was expecting a better episode than this. I think it's going to be better. I think that with the Arkham storyline coming to fruition next week, I almost feel like that's what they were doing. They were just kind of needed an episode to get Arkham ready. And now we're going to get Arkham in this next episode. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, so here's the numbers that they had. They had a 2.5 out of 7 rating share in that key 18 to 49 demographic.
Once again, really strong.
And the viewers, once again, went down, though. It's 6.36 million.
Yeah, and I think that's just, what some people, that isn't going to be their show. It's going up against stuff like The Big Bang Theory, Monday Night Football. You know what I'm really curious about? I'm really curious to see what the DVR numbers are going to be on this show. Because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we're going to get to next, is a very strong DVR show because it goes up against NCIS and, things of that nature in NCIS New Orleans. So I feel like Gotham's going to be that show that people do like, but they may watch it several episodes in a row on their DVR, and watch them to see the universe come out and not have to sit through a bad episode,
Yeah, that's clearly. I wish I had the numbers for it, but I can't seem to find them just yet. But we'll get those numbers to see how they're doing in the DVR because, like you said, it's probably a little bit. Yeah,
I think those DVR numbers may come out. They come out on the weekends sometimes and at varying times. So we'll just have to see how those go, but. Speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and good DVR numbers, which Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. continues to have, and Gotham has that good demographic, so does Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You don't look at the total viewers, you look at that good demographic. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week just completely owned everything. This episode got pretty much 8.5s and 9s from every site that grades these things, and even some of them are incredibly critical on the show. They loved this episode. I loved this episode. Simmons is playing a double agent, so one of their science girls got a little bit more interesting. She's no longer just in a lab. She's out in the field, and she's a double agent with Hydra. And we also see Agent 33, who, I'll get to her in a minute, who has a lot of comic ties, being tortured and brainwashed at the beginning of the episode by Hydra's main guy, the Kraken. And so you have that going on, and then you have Blizzard. S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra are chasing the same assets. They're trying to get people who used to be on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s side to their side, to commit to their cause. Because Hydra is either killing off an asset that isn't going to join them, or they brainwash them if they feel that they're too important to kill, but they're not willing to comply. So I thought that was very interesting. But ultimately, they brought Agent Ward back into this, and he, of course, was a Hydra agent in Season 1, but they're keeping him for information. And Fitz, who he caused permanent brain damage to, nearly killed him. It was really interesting. Fitz has all of a sudden become an interesting character beyond just being a science geek. But one thing I really loved about this episode was Blizzard, and just how dark he was. He didn't hesitate to kill people. He didn't want to be with Hydra. He didn't want to be with S.H.I.E.L.D. He just wanted to be left alone. And so he would just touch someone and freeze them and push them over and watch them crash. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, this guy is brutal. But at the same time, it was really entertaining. And I like where the show is going with Simmons planted in Hydra now, because it allows for all sorts of different stories to develop. We know that in 2 episodes, so not this week's episode, but the next one, we're going to get Mockingbird, which I'm excited for. And there's also been rumors that Speedball from the New Warriors is going to appear at some point as well, who could also be a double agent. We really don't know at this point. Since Hydra's working with a bunch of, chemicals and weird science, that could be a way to get Speedball's origin and have Speedball exist. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That is something for everybody to look forward to. I'm looking forward to it too because I'm trying to catch up now. I'm working my way into the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., episodes. I'm a little behind, but I'm getting there. So hopefully by the time the next episode comes, I'll be able to give a full perspective on what's actually going on in the show. But everything that you described and what I'm reading in like the little Wikipedia description of the episode sounds amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
There's snipers, there's, like you said, the double agent Simmons, and they're looking for this Donnie Gill guy.
Yeah,
Blizzard. And then everything gets crazy from there.
They shot their own teammate because they just wanted revenge, and it kind of led to a lot of humor. I liked that.
Yeah, he falls in the water, Blizzard falls in the water, freezes, and then they can't find him. It's a very, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. compared to Gotham is Gotham's very cop oriented. We see a lot of the cop stuff. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. you're seeing a lot of the stuff from the comics as well as a spy espionage type thing.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
A combination.
You can see where that universe building, like what we talked about with Gotham and the slow burn kind of for some stuff, that's what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. suffered a lot through its first season. But now that the universe is built, you don't have to explain anything. Everything's already out there. You can just have a good, high-paced episode like this one. One other thing I wanted to mention really quick about Agent 33. She was successfully brainwashed. At the end of the episode, we show that she was serving Hydra. The higher-ups at Hydra are going to invite Agent Simmons into their, little inner circle because she proved her loyalty to a certain extent. She pushed the guy out of the way of Skye when Skye was trying to snipe him. It was clearly a setup, obviously, but it was very well done. And Agent 33, in her comic origin, she didn't really do a whole lot, but she did do one significant thing. Her expertise was in Greek mythology, and she is responsible for recruiting the character Hercules to help fight alongside S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think they're going to go that route, but it's a very interesting Easter egg that they may or may not pay off later.
Yeah, well, we talked about last week the potential of Hercules and Speedball being involved in the show, and I think that what you just described kind of leans towards them actually bringing that in, and having Hercules there to fight alongside the S.H.I.E.L.D. guys against Hydra, and then eventually, hopefully, maybe one day into a Civil War or a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I like that. I like that they can just drop an Easter egg in there, and you're like, oh, you know what? I don't know if they're going to do that, but they could, and that makes me excited.
Yeah, that's it's what us comic book type nerds look for in these shows. You know what I mean? Where everybody's always trying to analyze Gotham and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to see what little things stand out to be like, ooh, that's a comic book thing. Or if you don't, now people not in the know aren't going to know that, and they might have to look it up or Google it. But
yeah, I mean, exactly.
There's videos out there. I know for Gotham, I haven't looked on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. side, where it's top 5 Easter eggs of the week in the episode. So you guys should definitely check those out and see what the episode Easter eggs are for each show.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're not as familiar with the comics, it's a great way to just learn. Initially I knew Agent 33 sounded familiar, but there's so many agents with just numbers. Like the one that was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, who turned out to be Sharon Carter, Captain America's neighbor, who had a kind of a small part in it, played by Emily Van Camp. She has a number. I think she's Agent 19 or something. I don't remember. So you get those confused, but once you look it up, you're like, oh yeah, that's the agent that did that, or whatever the case may be. Obviously, I think we're going to see a lot of named agents in Agent Carter when that show comes out here in a few months. But you know what? I like that. It's like Agent 33. To the average viewer, it doesn't mean anything. To a comic nerd, they probably just had a nerdgasm. It's just, those little things I think are great. You don't have to throw it in their face. You just put it in there, and if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you can still enjoy the show.
Yeah, I love it. So, David, what do you think overall? What's your score, your rating, if you were to rate Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week?
I'm going to give it a 9. You know what? I thought it was great. There was a lot of stuff that I liked. It was hard to find anything that I didn't like. There was maybe just 1 or 2 parts that I thought they could have done better. I love bringing back Donnie Gill, and I also love that they didn't kill him. He's frozen. He's not dead. They just don't really know where he is. They literally put him on ice for potential later use. So yeah, I thought that was great. I thought there was maybe just a couple different things they could have done pacing-wise, maybe a couple different things with Coulson. They could have gone a little bit differently, but overall, I really liked the episode. I thought there was a couple humor jokes that didn't hit. That would be my other thing. Like when Agent May shot Agent Hunter, Agent Triplet was like, man, I wish that could have been me that did that, because, Agent Hunter shot them earlier in the season to try to get his way. So, but overall, I liked the episode. I'm giving it a solid 9. I think it's the best one of this season so far, and I think it's only going to get better from here.
Awesome. That gives me some more to look forward to with this show as I try and catch up, ride my, so-called steed into
the
catching
preview,
up to.
Oh, sorry, Mike, didn't mean to cut you off there.
Go ahead. I was making a very bad punny joke. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the thing I want to just talk about the post-credit scene real quick of Skye going down to talk to Agent Ward, and he mentions to Skye just right off the bat. He says, "I'm trying to tell the truth all the time, so that you will believe me when I say I know where your father is. He's still alive. He's looking for you, and I can take you right to him." And she had been trying to keep her heart rate steady the whole episode, regardless of what she was in, around 61 beats per minute, and she was up over 100 when he told her that. So I'm like, okay, you know what? You cannot drop that on me on a post-episode scene without paying that off soon. So I would not be surprised if we really start to get into Skye's origin here in the next episode or two at the very most. I'm guessing it's going to be this next episode, because in the teaser, they're looking into alien symbols on paintings. So this is going to be a great episode to pick up on, especially if you saw Guardians of the Galaxy and know about Marvel's cosmic side. Nice.
Very nice. More to look forward to.
Just more good stuff coming from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But one other show that did debut this week, we just want to mention it real quick, we're not going to get into a huge discussion, was The Flash. Mike, what did you hear about The Flash? I know you didn't get a chance to watch it, but what did you hear from the nerd community regarding The Flash's pilot?
A lot of people seem to like what was going on with The Flash. It premiered very well, from what I understand, on the CW. It got just under 5 million viewers for its first episode on a small, station like the CW, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, more power to it. I'm personally, I don't think I'm going to ever watch The Flash, because I was never a big fan of Barry Allen and The Flash in DC Comics, but
yeah, he's very much a niche character. I think that Netflix actually already bought the rights to him, if I'm not mistaken. I know that they got the rights to Gotham before the show ever aired, but I think that they got the rights to Flash, too, as part of the Flash and Arrow combo pack type thing. I watched the pilot. I'm not going to follow the show because I just have too much else to do right now, but I liked it. It was good pacing. He's a lot more fun. It's a very colorful universe. They explained his origins and how he got powers in a world that didn't have powers. They explained how the villains got powered up, with the particle accelerator and the atom smasher. I really liked that, and they're already teased that there's probably going to be a reverse Flash. They showed that Bruce Wayne's family does exist in this universe, but in the future it's like a crisis event thing. So if you're going to watch the show, you know what? I think it's going to be a really good show. Like I said, I'm not going to have time to watch it, so we're not going to really review it on our podcast every week. But there may come a time in the future where if it does end up on Netflix or something, I will watch it. It looks like a lot of fun. You can just only pack so much into your week, So if you are watching it, I'm going to give the pilot a solid 8. It was really good. There was a lot of parts that worked. They showed that his mom got brutally murdered by Reverse Flash, and that his dad is in prison. The moment with him and his dad, because his dad, of course, has been falsely accused of killing his mother, was just... If you didn't get some teary eyes watching that scene between them, then you don't have a soul, in my opinion, because that was just completely heart-wrenching and so good. You had your humor and you had your serious tones. There's a lot about the show that works. I like it about a zillion times better than Arrow, which is like a torture session for me. So I think The Flash is going on to bigger and better things. And Grant Gustin, honestly, if I had my perfect world, I would cast him as Peter Parker in Spider-Man. He looked like the perfect part for that. In another universe, maybe that would be the thing. But he does a great job of playing Barry Allen's Flash, and I think it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, like we've said at the beginning, the more that comic book like characters get TV shows, or there's ways for them to get into the media somehow besides just the print medium. Because people have this stigma with reading comic books that don't necessarily want to be connected to that quote unquote nerd thing. But if you watch the TV show, it's not too bad. You know what I mean? Like everybody else is watching it, so it's okay. It's not nerdy.
Yeah, and if you're a girl, it had that CW type romance in it. There's like a little love triangle going on. So it's weird for guys, but for girls, I'm sure they love it. Kind of like Arrow. But that's just me, man. But as we're talking about DC, Mike, what's going on in the DC comic world right now? Transitioning into that.
So right now, Batman 35 Endgame Part 1 is coming out. It came out this past Wednesday, which is some sort of crazy, event that's going on. They said, that Death of a Family from, earlier Batman storyline, I think it was last year, coming into this year, was more of a comedy. They said this one's going to be more of a tragedy. So the first issue, though, from what I understand, is the Justice League fighting Batman because they have some sort of connection with the Joker now, the Justice League, and they have turned on Batman. I need to get into this. Batman 35 Endgame Part 1.
Yep, pick it up if you haven't. I've got nothing but good reviews out of this. 8.5s, 9s, everything I'm reading.
Yeah, that's the big news for comic books. Also, I know you wanted to keep Comic-Con news to New York Comic-Con news to like a special episode, but there's one thing here from DC that I just have to announce because friends of mine are gonna like it, and I like this. The 1966 Batman television show, with Adam West and all that campiness that was.
Boom! Pow! Holy cakes, Batman!
Is getting a home release. I'm not sure if it's going to be DVD or Blu-ray. I didn't see in the article, but home release November 11th. So look for that for a great Christmas present for that older Batman fan that you may know.
Yeah, absolutely. That is amazing. That show was hilarious. Like, I don't care. Yeah, it was campy. They had the booms and the pows and the smacks, and they always managed to tear up a room in the middle of a fight. Like, once they went to that wide shot, you knew the room was done. My favorite thing from that show was Batman and Robin were very much known entities in that universe, but they didn't know their secret identities as Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. But I loved that there was a scene where they went to order burgers, and the shop in honor of Batman had changed it to Bat Burgers. So Batman had to order Bat Burgers, and Robin had to order Bat Burgers and like some kind of shakes and fries, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is pure gold.
Yeah, there's one scene that jumps out to me in particular when I was sitting down watching it with my buddies, Sean and the guys that I usually play stream video games with. We sat down, we were watching some episodes, and there's one where Robin's getting eaten by a giant clam.
Yeah.
It's like the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life, and they're making all the punny jokes that they had in like the show, and we were just sitting there like. I'm going to keep the conversation very, very G-rated. So we were saying a lot of things that won't be repeated on air, but it was just unintentional comedy in that show. Like, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was, especially 45 years later in like 2011. It was the funniest thing in the world to us.
Yeah, because it was so over the top and ridiculous, and just the way that it was, but. It just kind of in the comics, the big news, Joker is back, Batman's got an interesting storyline, DC is really trying to play him up, and it's looking like good things, man. DC is coming out with some good comic events, the future to go along with Future's End that's going on right now, and I'm excited. You know what? More Batman and Justice League storylines that are quality are good things, because you never know, they could be adapted to a movie. Like, you just never know.
Yeah, especially with some stuff that we've been reading about what's going on at the New York Comic Con, which, like we said, we will be reviewing in a future episode, probably a midweek episode.
Absolutely. And then kind of over on the Marvel side, the Axis event has started with Avengers and X-Men #1 coming out this week. And if you aren't familiar with that, just a quick synopsis of what's been going on. It's been following the Uncanny X-Men and Magneto. And what's happened is that the Red Skull has dug up Professor Charles Xavier's grave and has found a way to use his telepathic powers. He's found a way to use his brain. So if you didn't think the Red Skull was messed up before, well, he just showed how Nazi he really is. And so he's established mutant death camps on Genosha. And he's trying to turn the Avengers and the X-Men against each other, which really isn't hard at this point. Because all of this, of course, is taking place in the aftermath of the Avengers vs. X-Men event that led to the death of Charles Xavier. So Cyclops is like just a complete mess. He completely hates the Avengers. The Avengers aren't feeling too great about the mutants at this point either. But they are forced to work together because regardless of which side you are on, everybody hates the Red Skull and nobody likes death camps set up on Genosha. So that scene ended with literally like every Avenger in the Marvel Universe showing up to Genosha to fight the Red Skull. So this is the event that's probably going to change the Marvel Universe even more than Original Sin did because of what it's causing this Avengers and X-Men team to work together. And, you know, Tony Stark built like an anti-telepathy thing on his suit, which I think is just awesome. And, as only Tony Stark could do. They don't even have to explain it. It's just comic logic. I found a way to block it out. Don't even worry about it, guys.
Yeah.
So this is an event that I'm going to pick up. I'm probably going to start reading as much of it as I can. You know, like I said, only so much time in a week. But this is exciting. Like I like the Avengers. I like the X-Men. Them teaming up, because I'll never get to see it on film, is amazing.
Yeah, you know what, the X-Men Avengers kind of animosity goes all the way back to the House of M and Civil War storylines, too. So this kind of builds from those where, like, you know, in Civil War, obviously there wasn't Avengers. There was all, you know, the Avengers were kind of all over the place, but...
Yeah, Civil War was just like the Marvel Universe was at war.
But, I mean, X-Men were kind of put off on a back burner in that storyline where they had to stay at, you know, the school for gifted children. They weren't allowed to leave that area. So there's very much a similarity there between that event and the one that's going on currently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look at this because of the fallout of the Phoenix Force and everything that went on with that. There's going to be a lot of tension, and there's going to be a lot of times where Cyclops is forced to work with, you know, Falcon as Captain America, who, by the way, has an interesting scene in this comic where he's not used to leading a team yet, especially not on a scale this big. Like, he just debuted a week ago in comics, so that's been really interesting. And I like that. You know what? I think this is going to be a great event, and Spider-Man, it doesn't really seem to be involved because, of course, he's off doing his own thing in Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, he's messing with all his things. He's not there to be an Avenger or involved at all. But that's this event is Marvel's just does it big when they do these big events, man. There's no other way to say it. Their events are never bad.
Yeah, I know that they say that every event shakes the universe to its core, but I really think they mean it this time. Like, I'm pretty sure that this is legit. As far as, you know, things being shaken to their core, Spider-Verse is continuing. The big one this week that was the tie-in was Amazing Spider-Man #7, which had new Miss Marvel join up with Spider-Man to have a fight. Kamala Khan, who is of course, Arab descent, who's the new Miss Marvel, she was in a big fight, and Spider-Man came to help, and she had like a big fangirl moment where it's like, oh my gosh, you're Spider-Man! Did you really date Captain Marvel? Like, it was really funny. I still think Spider-Verse is continuing to be awesome. They showed that there is a Spider-Man UK that he kind of watched. Spider-Man and his amazing friends were killed off. It was really kind of funny because he just let them die. I'm like, wow, that's really sad. The Spider-Man and his amazing friends got about a panel, and then boom, oh, I'm just gonna let them die. Forget it. Like,
yeah, that's weird. But I mean, the Spider-Verse event is great too. Like I just said, Marvel knocks it out of the park with these things. The two that I mentioned earlier, House of M, you know, Civil War.
And then Secret Invasion and just everything else. Oh my gosh.
None of them are ever bad.
No, and see, this is what I like, is that Marvel has these big events, and then DC has their Crisis. Like, they're completely different. You could easily like both, but they both do their thing well. Like, that's where I hate it, where somebody says, well, Marvel's events are better than DC's Crisis. Well, A, they're not really comparable. They're very different in how they end up taking place, because Crisis events are like merging of universes and all that stuff. But Marvel's just like, okay, we're going to find a way to get all of our characters in one place for a common reason to stop the world from ending. Like, it's usually a cosmic threat of some kind, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes they're just fighting amongst themselves, which makes it even more entertaining.
Yeah, and the fact that you don't really see that in the DC universe. You don't get Batman versus well, I mean, you do kind of get Batman versus Superman in Frank Miller books, but you don't get Batman versus Superman versus Green Lantern versus the Flash, or or you get the Justice League kind of fighting, but they're fighting against all the bad guys. They're not fighting against another team of heroes, unless you have like the crazy, like you said, the combining of the universes, or Earth 1 and Earth 2 and Earth 16 and all that. That
Yeah.
that drives me a little bit crazy with DC, but that's I'm gonna save that for another time.
Yeah, we'll save that for the Future's End discussion, because I heard a lot of that was going on in Future's End this last week or so. But one other thing that we wanted to get to involving, the nerd universe was that Marvel. Here we go, Mike. I just have a question. I want to pose this question to you. What would you say if I told you that Marvel is canceling the Fantastic Four comic book series as a way to screw Fox, because Fox refused to negotiate with them to give back the rights to Silver Surfer, partial rights so both sides could use them, to the Silver Surfer, Galactus, and the Skrulls, even though Fox has not used them for 10 years. Marvel is canceling the Fantastic Four in retaliation to Fox saying no to this.
It's idiotic in a sense that like you're depriving fans of all that comic goodness now. Like you're taking that away. That just is wiped. Boom, done. That's it. Okay, well now collectors are going to love that, because if they have all the back issues of Fantastic Four, those prices are going to go through the roof. But
yep.
As like
not that the Fantastic Four has been selling like amazingly well in its newer editions anyway, but those are like, that is the first family. They were the first real public superheroes in the Marvel Universe, and now they're just going to be gone in 2015.
Exactly. Now, casual fans might not care. Fantastic Four, they may remember the movies that came out that were honestly not that good.
Oh, poor Silver Surfer.
Yeah, like what a waste of a great character in that franchise. But it's saddening to actual comic book fans are going to be very upset with this, and like I'm trying to keep it very, very G-rated right now and be very calm about it, because if I get too upset, I'm going to start using vulgar language, and we don't want that.
We want iTunes to keep us out of the explicit department. We don't want to have an E next to our name.
Yeah.
The thing, too, is, of course, Fantastic Four, the reboot, is coming out, in 2015. 10 years after Rise of the Silver Surfer, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere around there. Whatever the limit was, that's it. Like, they had to release the movie next year. Marvel offered to buy the rights back for like $1 billion. And Fox said, oh no, we're going to build a shared universe with them and the X-Men, because that totally makes some sense. And then they said, okay, well, we'll offer you, toy rights to Silver Surfer, Galactus, and the Skrulls, and other such things, and we'll promote you in the comics if you just give us partial rights to those characters back. And Fox said nope, so they said, okay, we'll see how much push your team is going to get in the comics when your movie's coming out. And the answer is none. They are going to get zero push in the comics. Like, it's interesting, when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, all of a sudden Star-Lord had a new book, and Rocket Raccoon had a new book, and Guardians of the Galaxy had a new book. So they were really making a push. Fantastic Four will get no such love. They are getting no love from Marvel. They are basically giving a big middle finger to Fox, saying, take that for not negotiating with us.
Yeah, you don't want to play ball, we'll just take our ball and go home.
Yeah, we're taking our ball, we're going to leave the team, and you can form your own team, because you ain't going to get any like, honestly, Marvel has already been doing this to Fox. I don't know if you know this, Mike. There were no toys made for X-Men Days of Future Past, because Marvel owns all toy rights to all of their characters. Yeah,
I noticed that going through the toy aisle, helping my friend Jeff look for the WWE wrestling figures. So I'd go through and you see, the Spider-Man and the Hulk stuff and the Avengers stuff from the
Guardians of the Galaxy coming out. There's a lot of that.
The Earth's Mightiest Heroes toys and stuff from like their Disney shows. And and you keep walking, like, where's there's no Wolverine, there's no nothing, like, okay. And then you get to the wrestlers and, there's some Star Wars stuff there. And you're like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah, Marvel has clearly said to Fox, you are not getting any income. Because toys is a big way to sell. Like, that's what all the kids want. They want the toys. And none of those for the X-Men.
Yeah, huge merchandising dollars. Toys, the lunch boxes, all that good stuff. People buy those, especially collectors like to get the toys, all that merchandise that they can sell that's branded as, X-Men or, Fantastic Four or Marvel or anything like that. People are going to want to snap that up because, like I said earlier, the comic book collectors or the toy collectors are going to get a lot of money from that. But if there's no Fantastic Four stuff to tie in, then, people are going to lose out, and those people are going to be upset, like I said.
Yeah, there's going to be no extra promotion in anything. No toys, no comics. It's just taking away some of the hype that you want behind a movie, especially one that you're trying to launch essentially to save the franchise. Like, I'm not surprised. I'm going to talk about this more at the end of our show, in our end of the show rants. But one thing I also wanted to get to about somebody playing ball with Marvel is reports that Sony is willing to play ball with Marvel, because in order to keep the rights to Spider-Man, Sony negotiated all of the toy rights and all of the animation rights and likeness to the character back to Marvel so that they could keep the Spider-Man universe. Well, if you didn't read, Sony is going through some really big financial issues. Their cell phones in Asia are not selling particularly well, so they're having a financial issue. There are reports that are not being confirmed yet that Sony is negotiating with Marvel to allow Marvel to pay Sony a certain amount of sum of toy rights and anything else to use Spider-Man in upcoming Avengers films. Mike, what are your thoughts?
That's amazing. Sony. No
pun intended, but that is amazing.
Yeah. The Sony Pictures, which is what we're talking about, not Sony like Computer Entertainment, which does the video game side of Sony, or their television and stuff. They're doing fine. Now that having Spider-Man available for the Avengers and stuff like that, and I keep pushing towards this, could keep building towards that Civil War movie that I want.
Yep, he's a key character.
He is the key of the key characters. Besides the New Warriors where they kick off the event, Spider-Man is really the guy that's the most conflicted in that whole storyline. And I think that's going to be a big move if Marvel ever wants to do that movie.
Yeah, if Marvel can get Spider-Man, you're probably going to make like $3 billion on the film that he's in with the Avengers. But with that, it's him, Captain America, and Iron Man with the three key cogs of Civil War. The other thing too, Mike, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, but if you look at this, this is the big picture that Marvel is trying to paint. To kick off the Infinity Gauntlet, when Thanos decides to kill half of the people in the universe, Silver Surfer crashes into Sanctum Sanctorum, which is Doctor Strange's house. We're getting the Doctor Strange movie. They wanted Silver Surfer back. And then, right as that happens, Spider-Man is over New York and watches half of the people on the streets disappear. And all of a sudden, there's your key characters. Spider-Man, Silver Surfer, wonder what they're trying to do with this. They're trying to build their perfect Infinity Gauntlet story. Because think about that. How great of a way to introduce Spider-Man into the Marvel Universe would that be? He's just you just see a camera swinging around New York, and you're like, man, what's this? If you haven't heard he's in the film or something. And then all of a sudden, they just pan to him, and he's like, where'd all the people go? Or, it's just your neighborhood-friendly Spider-Man, or just something like that, I think that if Marvel offers $3 billion to Sony, Sony needs to take it and just accept that, what, they can do just as much or more with Spider-Man and the Avengers than we ever could, and we're going to take a cut of the profits from this. If Sony doesn't do this, because there's been talk, they've tried to play ball before. If Sony doesn't do this, they are completely stupid, and this is a terrible business decision if they don't do it.
Yeah, not only does it set up the Civil War thing, like I said, or what you're talking about with the Infinity Gauntlets, the Avengers isn't always the Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America.
Nope, it's a very revolving squad.
There's all these people in the Marvel Universe that come in and come out of that thing, and Spider-Man is one of them. He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. This guy comes, and then Spider-Man comes back. That only benefits Marvel. Well, I shouldn't say it only benefits Marvel, but it benefits Marvel, I think, more than it would benefit Sony in the long run. Obviously, having one of your key characters be involved in your multi-billion-dollar movie franchise is only going to make it tens of billions of dollars every freaking movie that comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at it too, Marvel's starting to get into all their street level characters. If they decide to make a Defenders movie with like Daredevil and Iron Fist and Luke Cage, Spider-Man is kind of cut from the same cloth. He's very street level, very street New York. He would fit perfectly with those guys. Like, and the quote that I read was that from the, of course, the anonymous source was that Marvel wants to be able to play with all of its toys. Like, that's what they want to be able to do, and build the perfect universe adapted from the comics. So this would make sense. This is a report that, given Sony's state, and that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't do that well at all at the box office compared to what they were hoping for, this makes sense on every side for me, financially, and from doing fan service. Like, it just makes a lot of sense.
It really does. Like, it is a lot of fan service. They need to get this done. That's it. Like, Spider-Man, to me, is synonymous with Marvel because when I was growing up, I was watching the Spider-Man animated series on Fox. But, you know, you had that big thing at the beginning of the Marvel thing, and Spider-Man was Marvel for me. No other characters. And then, of course, Iron Man a few years later when he got his cartoon because Stan Lee was out there talking about it. But, like, Spider-Man was the Marvel character for me.
Yeah, and they had the X-Men animated series going on simultaneously, and they were able to cross over all of their universes. Sometimes you'd see Captain America and, you know, Iron Man and War Machine, or the X-Men in some cases show up in Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like,
you had the episodes where the Punisher came to Spider-Man, Venom, obviously, which is a big reason why I want Spider-Man in everything that Marvel has to do, because maybe they won't screw him up like they did with Tobey.
In that movie that we prefer to say doesn't exist. It ends in a 3.
That's my selfish reason why I hope that Marvel gets their rights to Spider-Man to put him in the movies, because then Venom can come, and then Captain Venom and all that stuff with his storyline, and hopefully I could get
Agent Venom,
an all Venom movie.
I think if they did a symbiote movie, that would be awesome. Have Venom, have Carnage, so have Dark Venom, so like just have the symbiote, have Agent Venom, you know, the good symbiote, have Carnage, and then have Dark Venom. Or I believe that's, or no, Anti-Venom. That's his name. Anti-Venom, and then some of these other, like, who am I thinking of, Mike? The one that's like all of them put together. I can't think of his name right now.
Well, there's that one always escapes me. You had Carnage. There was 2 versions of Carnage because there's like a male and the female version. That was crazy. There's all like that stuff that they talked about in that cartoon. Man, they had all that except for the Agent Venom, but they had all that stuff built in, which is why I want Marvel to get Spider-Man back.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those things too that I'm not sure that Marvel would be able to use Venom. I feel like that would be a push because obviously I think Sony's trying to get their own, you know, Venom movie off the ground, which, well, we're hearing that they're attempting to, but nothing seems to be moving too fast at this point. But it's one of Toxin. That's the one I was trying to think of. It's Toxin. That's the other main symbiote. But it's one of those things that I look at Sony. They're not making great movies right now. So why not take this chance, make a good Hybrid. Hybrid is the other one. Hybrid's the one of like all those other minor symbiotes, and he's like awesome. But yeah, I look at this and I say, you'd be stupid not to make this move. You'd be financially dumb not to make this move.
Yeah, it's only going to make you millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yes, and speaking of making millions upon billions of dollars, there is a report this week, Mike, that the Justice League has finally gotten a director and a release year. What I'm reading, according to Variety, the Justice League movie has been confirmed by Warner Brothers to be a 2019 release date, with Zack Snyder directing the film.
Ooh, that's exciting. When you hear Zack Snyder directing anything that has to do with the comic book, you get a little excited.
The interesting timing for this, 2019 is supposed to be the capstone event of the Marvel Universe. Potentially the Infinity Gauntlet or Civil War or whatever they're planning, it might be in 2019. This could be the fanboy war we have all been waiting for.
Yeah, the people that don't necessarily coexist when they're talking about comic books could actually come to blows in 2019 if this is, true.
Yeah, we almost had it in 2016 with Captain America 3 and Batman vs. Superman being on the same date, but DC wisely moved up a little bit to be ahead of Captain America's release date. Because I'm telling you, man, that would have been the greatest thing to be on the news and be like, we have the ultimate war going on, and it's not in the Middle East. Nope, it's here at the movie theater. Here on this side we have Marvel, and here on this side we have DC, and they're fighting each other, and they're slapping each other, and it's just like... Oh man, and just yelling across the aisle as you're both waiting in line at midnight to see your respective comic. Oh man.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of people flipping each other the bird and throwing trash.
Yeah, and then you have all these hater shirts, I'll show you my Dark Knight or whatever, just stupid, awesome nerddom. But to me, you know what? I think this is good, and I'm glad that they're not attempting to rush this out. The only part of this that bothered me, Mike, and I want to get your thoughts, is that they called it the third film of the Superman franchise. And Batman vs. Superman is the sequel to Man of Steel. And I'm like, really? Because it doesn't seem like it.
There's no such thing as Superman franchise. I don't acknowledge that Man of Steel came out because I never saw it, because as my friend Jeff and I like to call him, Superman is not a man at all. He's just a regular alien. So I don't like reading about Superman or watching Superman movies. I will eventually watch Man of Steel, but
I watched it, and Superman is not supposed to kill people. He snaps a dude's neck, not even thinking twice. He destroys all of Metropolis. He's wearing a dark and gritty suit, and I'm like, isn't Superman supposed to be happy? What's going on with this?
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on there, but it can't be the third movie to the Superman franchise because it won't build that way. You know what I mean? If Batman and Superman fighting, whatever they're titling that movie, if it is Batman versus Superman.
Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice is the official title.
If that's the sequel to Man of Steel, how is the Justice League a sequel to that? Because the Justice League is them being friends. Batman. What are they going to fight in the second movie, and then at the end they're just going to hug it out and maybe we should start a super team. Hey.
Yeah, what we know, this is what we've heard, is that Zack Snyder is basically adapting the Dark Knight Returns story into Batman versus Superman, which is awesome. I'm okay with that. I like the Dark Knight Returns. But to call it the sequel to Man of Steel is depriving Henry Cavill of a true sequel. I almost feel bad for him. But it's also depriving the franchise of a true sequel. We want to know more about Superman by himself, nobody else. I just want to know about Superman. How's he developing as a character? What's he like after the destruction of Metropolis? And what's he like after having to kill Zod? How does he react to that? But no, we're not going to get that movie, never.
Well, if they do the Dark Knight Returns fight between Batman and Superman, they're going to have to build to how Superman became the agent of the government that he is in that book, where he's going on the behalf of President Ronald Reagan to fight Batman to stop him from being a superhero. They're going to have to say something maybe his destruction of Metropolis in Man of Steel led them to writing some bill or whatever to where nobody can be a superhero anymore. Yeah. And that's where, Superman, that's how he's dealing with his killing of Zod and everything like that. And then it builds into that fight with Batman because in the backgrounds in Gotham City, Batman's tinkering and doing his things that he's not supposed to be doing, and then they send Superman there, and then that's how the Justice League comes about because they're okay with them doing whatever. But if they end it like Dark Knight Returns, then Batman's quote unquote dead. Spoilers.
Yeah. Well,
28-year spoilers on that one.
For a 28-year-old comic, spoilers. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that comic is older. Those that comic book, The Dark Knight Returns, is older than both David and I. So that.
Yeah, seriously, and that's kind of what bothers me. Is they're like, oh, you spoiled Game of Thrones fans, the books. They're like, oh, you spoiled that episode for me. It's in the book. We didn't spoil anything.
It's readily available online.
Exactly. It's not called a spoiler. Well, I didn't even know there was books. Well, then clearly you're not a Game of Thrones fan. Seriously.
You don't really know.
Get out of here with you and your stupid talk of, Peter Dinklage and Tyrion Lannister and all that stuff. Just get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Game of Thrones fan, but one thing I will do is never read the book.
Yeah, but anyways, kind of along those lines of Batman, there was another announcement of a Batman film, but not live action. Mike, tell us the news regarding Batman.
So it looks like we're gonna get a Lego Batman movie now, which can't be bad because based off what I didn't see the Lego movie personally, but everything that I've heard about the Lego movie, and especially from you, David, has been great. Will Arnett is set to reprise his role as Batman, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, sir. Yep.
In the Lego Batman movie, so that could be amazing. I want to see if they're gonna do like who's gonna be the Joker, if they're gonna have like a Joker thing. The Lego Batman thing is something I'm fully behind. I know that they're also releasing the third Lego Batman video game in the coming weeks. While that's not stuff that I personally play, my friends that have kids that are, of that age, like 7, 8, younger kids that like Legos and like Batman, and then that crossover is like the best thing in the world to them. It's blowing their mind. They rate those games pretty high.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about DC's versions of Lego things. Like they had, I believe they had an Arkham version of a Lego game, if I'm not correct. Is that correct?
I don't really know, like I said, I don't mess with those games, so I don't know the storylines or what's going on. I know there's just a ton of Batman stuff going on. There's a ton of Batman villains. There's everything. The Marvel games, I understand, are the same way, where they have like everything that you could ever imagine in the Batman or Marvel universe in the Legos.
Yeah, Lego Marvel Superheroes is the next game I'm picking up on PS4. I will play that thing until my eyes just shrivel up and come out of my face. But the Lego Batman movie, Mike, what storyline what storyline do you think would be appropriate for this? Because obviously this Batman is dark, but he's funny. Like you saw a lot of the previews for the Lego movie, and Batman was at the center of all of them. Like, here's me with my bat phone, and here's me with my. Why are you talking like that? I don't know. What storyline do you think would even fit for this? Because obviously it needs to be something appropriate for kids. They're probably gonna have the Joker. Like, what do you think? What do you think they do with this?
They're gonna have to take something and make it fun. Take like a very obscure Batman thing, or just kind of write their own story with this. I don't see anything from the Batman comics being able to be depicted for children. Like, especially like lately, a lot of the stuff is very dark. You don't want to put that in the hands of little kids, because that's who's going to see this movie. Let's be honest. Like, it's not made for. I mean, I'm sure people our age or comic book fans and people are like, because I love Legos. I was a big Lego kid.
Oh yeah, but those were like one of the cornerstones of our childhood. No pun intended, but they were.
Yeah. So it's great that I'm seeing a combination of two things that I grew up with, but I don't know what they could do with this. They're gonna have to make some sort of weird Lego, specific storyline, I feel like.
Here's something for me, Mike. This just kind of came to mind. What would you think of if they did something similar to like the 1966 movie, where they have Batman's villains and it's kind of a comedic twist? So you have like a Lego Penguin, a Lego Joker, a Lego Poison Ivy, and a Lego Riddler of sorts, and then maybe like a Lego Catwoman in Lego Gotham, going up against Batman. So you have like your little penguin just quacking around like whack 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 whack, and then the Joker being weird and like kind of trying to be gritty, but then they like are making fun of him because he's a clown. And what do you think of something like that? Do you think that would work if they took that kind of stance on it? Like, it's going to be a combination of villains, not just the Joker.
Yeah, that could work. Like, if the Joker himself could be very funny without taking it to a dark place. So they have that they can work with, but if they did it like a 1966 Batman movie where they got like the Rogues Gallery together and they did something very weird, like they did in that 1966 movie where they captured like the United Nations and made them into like powder, like something goofy like that, because that was very
like where they disassemble the Legos and all that's left is their head, like their bodies are missing. Like, I think that'd be really funny.
Yeah, something very odd, that's just kind of very Lego specific, though. Like, that's what they have to go with this.
I like that idea, Mike, kind of creating their own brand and going from there. And maybe they might even take something from the Lego games. We don't know. They could do anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, I don't know how much of the games they're going to connect in this, because I don't know much what's going on in those games anyway.
Yeah, so speaking of games, though, Mike, kind of our last segment before we get to our rants of the week, a couple different big things in the gaming world. NBA 2K15 came out. You picked that up.
Yeah,
and then Destiny's been out for a month. So let's start off with NBA 2K15. Mike, what did you think? You got the game.
So far, in NBA 2K15, I did stream a little bit of like my first night with it. I didn't play much, but they added to the My Career version, where last year and the year before that, where you just kind of made your player and you went to the pre-draft camp and you worked out and then you got drafted. This year they have like a full story built around your character.
And an annoying agent.
Yeah, you have your terrible agent, who's the used car salesman type guy, who just keeps kind of telling you that you're going to be great and you're going to do this and that and the other thing, and it never happens. But you're an undrafted guy. You're sitting there, you're watching the draft in your house, and you know they call out the last pick of the second round, and it's not you, and you kind of freak out. You get a 10-day contract, and you get a list of teams that you want to try out for. Then you get a 10-day contract, and you just kind of work through that. That's about as far as I've gotten. I haven't seen what else is out there, but
how's the gameplay compared to past versions?
You're
playing the game.
It's very similar. It's good. I like the way they move the shot meter, which is nice, which you can turn off, and you can just go based on the motion, which you have to do for free throws, which is nothing new. But it handles just as well as 2K13, 2K14, so I have no complaints with that. My team makes a return, which is 2K's answer to Madden and FIFA Ultimate Team. The Black Talk games are back. The Team Up thing, I believe, is back. So there's nothing really different from 2K14 except the graphics look amazing. It's updated, obviously, and you have the new story mode that I've gone through so far. Once I tinker around with it a little more, check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MikeIsTheHat, to see me, just kind of fool around with it and see what we can find on there.
Yeah, and I'm your moderator for your streams, in case the fans out there don't know. So if you want to ever come say hi to us in the stream. The one thing I didn't like was I thought the backstory was a little too in depth. Like I even said it to you. I'm like, they way overthought this. Like I don't care. This agent is in our apartment. He's annoying as heck. Like he's just bothering me to no end. And then your dude is like overly angry all the time, and so it's just kind of. I thought they went a little too far on this backstory thing.
What they needed to do was get some different voices. That's the thing, is like you only have the selection of two voices. They're both very.
They're both very hip hop. Like I guess that's the best way to say it. Like they're. You wouldn't see them at like a yuppie breakfast,
Yeah, they're very, very angry. They just sound mad all the time, no matter what you say. And like your guy comes off as this real
arrogant jerk.
Yeah, jerky guy. Like he's, oh yeah, you're on a 10-day contract and you're like yelling at the coach. Like, relax, bro. Like,
yeah, the coach is like, good job, man. And you're like, that's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
Like if you gave me more, or like he'll say, hey, that was good stuff out there, rookie. If you gave me more minutes, you'd see it more. Like, who says that to their coach? Like, seriously.
Yeah. An undrafted guy on a 10-day contract says that. But we'll see as I progress through everything else to see what's really going on with that. So, but I like the story, but I don't like it. So it's a hit or miss thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, we'll see how it goes later on down the line. You have your Twitter stream again, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and different elements like that that kind of add to the overall gameplay. So hopefully it continues to get more exciting as your player gets off of his 10-day contract and the 2K network actually starts working and the servers start working and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing, too, is like the servers were kind of messed up because it was the first day of the game. So I didn't really get to do as much as I wanted to on the launch night. So
absolutely. And then just one other big gaming thing, Mike. Destiny's been out for a month. You got some stats for us. So what do you got?
I have something else added on to the end of this Destiny thing as far as gaming goes. But Destiny being out for a month, so they put up some numbers on Bungie.net, their website where you can check your Destiny stats and all this stuff. But so between September 9th and October 9th, the 1 month anniversary, an average of 3.2 million players play Destiny every day in that month.
Wow.
And their average play time is around 3 hours. So
wow.
that's huge. And then over the past 3 weeks, Destiny has had more online players during their that first month than both Halo 3 and Halo Reach combined. So that's huge because those were two huge games for Bungie and for Xbox, and this is just doing absurd numbers. A lot of that, them beating Halo and Halo 3 and Halo Reach, has to do with Destiny being released on multiple platforms, while those were only on the Xbox 360.
Right, and this has a lot more online base to it, since it's very much an MMO after you beat the story.
Yeah, Destiny has to be played online. But they also have the Iron Banner going on up until October 14th, which is their player versus player event, kind of the opposite of the Queen's Wrath, which was the event leading up to it, where it was more player versus environment focused. And my final gaming thing is the Extra Life Play Games Heal Kids benefiting the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Now that doesn't start until the 25th and 26th of October, but what it is you should, if you're on Twitch, you see a lot of streamers starting to talk about it. There's the streaming teams that are trying to gather up all of their team members to do the 24-hour stream. That's what they want you to do, is sit down and stream a game for 24 hours. Now, obviously, if you can't do that, you can break it up. But it's a way for them to raise money for the Children's Medical Network hospitals and try and get kids healed from whatever it is that they're suffering from. So this is something to look forward to. Hopefully, I can start a little team on here and we can get some stuff going and donate to them. But right now, I'm looking forward to helping out one of my friends, Breezy Flash. He's involved in this and has been for the last 2 or 3 years. So I will be hosting and linking to his stream from mine on Twitch when he starts doing this.
Yeah, that sounds like a great cause, Mike, and I think that's awesome, a way to get the gamers involved, get a community that maybe is an untapped market sometimes for certain good causes, as a way to use what they love to do to raise money and awareness for a cause that really needs it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like, I'm glad that I found out about this stuff. So what you do is you just like anything, you get people to pledge $10, whatever, and if you raise over $200, you get a nice T-shirt. And there's things that you could do to help, but go check out streams. If you're on Twitch or whatever, go check out the streams that have this tagged in it. I think that's one of the things too, is you have to put like Extra Life stream or charity stream or whatever, and people will come. I think you'll get more viewers that way. So
yeah, absolutely. So be sure to check out Mike's stream and any other stream that may be doing this. Mike is once again at twitch.tv/MikeIsTheHat.
All one word.
All right, and so we're going to add a new segment to our show this week as we kind of wrap things up. This is our Rant of the Week. We each pick a topic that is going on, should be the nerd world, but maybe sometimes there won't be anything we want to rant on in the nerd world. We may just want to rant on something. So we're going to start off with you, Mike. Mike, what's your Rant of the Week?
Okay, so I've been reading the Fables books, like I've said. I'm trying to catch up. I'm a little behind, so I have the graphic novels. I read book 19, and I've started book 20. In book 19, Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf, and this is maybe spoilers for some. I mean, it's about 2 years behind. Bigby Wolf has died, and I am very, very upset. He fought Prince Brandish, who came to the Fable world because he says that Snow White is his one true wife and that they vowed to each other when they were children. Blah blah blah. You must divorce Bigby. I'm going to kill him. Then I'm going to kill all of your children, and this, so that we can be together in a pure relationship that we were supposed to have when we were children or whatever. It got all crazy for a minute. But then Bigby comes back from searching for his kids that are lost to find that, Snow White's been held captive. And he just comes and is like, where's my wife? And they get in this, like, Then Brandish is trying to like sword fight against a gigantic wolf, which he then turns into the man or smaller. Man, I'm just like trying not to get really upset and say bad words, but like he eventually turns Bigby into a glass statue because he has this magical sword that changes its power and can change form depending on who he's fighting. And he stabs Bigby, he turns into a glass statue. Snow White escapes from her capture in the tower of the castle that they were fighting at, which is the new Fable Town after it got destroyed. She escapes with the help of her sister Rose Red, comes down, and she sword fights left-handed because Brandish broke her arm against him, but there's a spell that says any harm that Brandish is done happens to Snow White. There's this whole big convoluted thing. She kills him, but in the process of killing Brandish, he breaks Bigby's glass statue into billions of pieces, and then Bigby's dead. And I was just pissed. I was like, how he was the main character for 130 issues, or like 127 issues, and then all of a sudden it's just like, I'm dead.
Huh.
Although he has made an appearance, like they show him in like the spirit world in the 20th, in like issue 132 or so. They show he's not like dead. They tried to like go back to where there's like this spirit thing, and like Boy Blue comes back. But I'm just upset at the way he died. It was just so terrible. Like, oh, he's a glass statue. Oh, you've killed me, but you've lost him forever. That's what was Brandish's exact words. And he hits the hilt of his sword on the glass statue and breaks it.
Wow. I'm lost for words. That certainly probably had the effect they were intending for it to have, which is, well, we're going to kill off the main character and just deal with it.
Yeah, I'm, after reading like half of the graphic novel number 20, I'm kind of not as mad about it, but I'm still upset because they're building it kind of like he has this choice to either stay in the spirit world and live in this big forest where he could just hunt and kill things like a wild dog would do in, real life, or he can come back to the world, but he may be corrupted again to be the evil big bad wolf of, the old stories of Red Riding Hood and all that.
Well, so at least they could do something with him. I mean, it leaves that open to speculation, so it sounds like it shouldn't be too awful.
Hopefully. I'm working towards, finishing that and catching up, because like I said on the past couple episodes, Fables is coming to an end fairly quickly. I think they're on like the 143rd issue, and they're planning to end it on issue 150. So
well, we'll definitely be looking forward to hearing more about that as you continue to catch up, and Fables unfortunately comes to an end.
David, what do you have for the week? What's your rant? I know it tied into stuff that we talked about earlier, but what is it exactly?
Well, once again, if I had my way, I would have a not safe for work rant about Fox. I would have all kinds of terrible things to say about them. And not just because I like Marvel Studios better than Fox and because I think Marvel Studios has done better movies. I think Fox is only doing this because of the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch thing. With them being in the Avengers, I feel like that they are just so against everything that's going on that Marvel is doing. And as soon as Marvel's like, well, we have Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver because they're Avengers and they're also mutants, Fox all of a sudden changed one of their movies to put Quicksilver in it at the last minute in X-Men Days of Future Past. And then as Marvel is trying to negotiate the rights to characters that Fox isn't even using, Fox won't play ball with them. And from a financial aspect, this doesn't make any sense because there is no way that those Fantastic Four movies are going to make as much as Marvel was willing to offer them in return for the partial rights. The Skrulls have never been in a film and would allow Marvel to do the Secret Invasion, where the Skrulls come and take the forms of key human characters and start a war with the Avengers and the entire Marvel Universe. And Silver Surfer, when he was in The Rise of the Silver Surfer, was complete garbage. Like, Lawrence Fishburne, and the fact that Lawrence Fishburne as his voice was, okay. But then, the fact that his powers came from the board, that the power cosmic did not exist. Like, seriously, you should not even be allowed to have the Silver Surfer in your universe if you are going to treat his origin like that. Like, that was garbage. And then Galactus is a mist? Like, seriously? And so, the fact that they have no good reason not to give partial rights back. They've already shown they're pretty much going to keep it on Doctor Doom. And if they even do get a sequel, the villain that they've cast is the Mole Man. That's right, the Mole Man. Oh, so for me, give the Skrulls back. At the very least, give the Skrulls back. Give the Super Skrull back. You're not going to use them. Just take your money. Let them give you some toy rights, some comic rights. All of this junk could have been completely averted if Fox just wasn't a bunch of pompous pieces of crap sitting in an office that have no love or no desire for comics or fans. This is clearly all about money, and they don't understand it, obviously. I mean, they've made some pretty bad Fantastic Four films, and it all comes down to jealousy. Like, everybody in the comic book world now has to respond to Marvel, copy Marvel, or in some way join with Marvel, because you can't ignore what they've done. They have built the ultimate comic cinematic universe, and they did it slowly, and they did it with great marketing, and it's what everybody wanted. They pleased the fans. They have magical powers. They don't really care. They saw Batman and said, we're going to be different than the Dark Knight, and we don't really care. Like, that to me, Fox is only hurting themselves. Like, ultimately, Marvel is going to win this, because they're sitting there, they have the entire company, they can just cancel all their comics, they can cancel all their toys, they can write them out of their video games. It's really easy to say, well, the Fantastic Four don't exist anymore. And it sucks, because one of my favorite characters of all time is Johnny Storm, and I also love Reed Richards, who's the smartest man in the Marvel Universe, from what I understand. So to do this for Fox, you're being selfish and stupid. Like, me as a fan, I want to go and punch the CEO of 20th Century Fox Pictures right in the nose and knock him unconscious so he has a brain reset and reconsiders this. Because ultimately, as a fan, I'm the one who suffers. Like, and isn't that what these movies are supposed to be about? Like, wasn't that the entire reason it's entertainment? So, it's just stupid. Like, I want to see the Skrulls. I want to see the Super Skrull. I want to see the Kree Skrull War. But no, I'm never going to see that because Fox is full of a bunch of idiots.
Fox ruins things. Like, the Galactus thing still drives me crazy.
Oh, gosh. And then getting Jessica Alba to play a white blonde girl. What a brilliant casting decision.
I wasn't really against it, but...
I like Jessica Alba, but not as a white blonde girl.
Anytime Jessica Alba's on my television for any reason, whether it be, some sort of advertisement or a movie or whatever, I'm all for that.
Yeah, but then, like, the rubbery skin on the thing, Michael Chiklis,
Poor Michael Chiklis in that one, man. He
got screwed.
He definitely got the short end of the stick on that. He looked like an idiot.
Oh, gosh. That suit looks awful. And that's the thing, I guess, that bothers me. The only reason that the Fantastic Four film is being made is to keep the rights. Not because they had some brilliant idea or some new idea of how to make these characters awesome. It's simply to keep the rights. Like, just give them back. Like, seriously. Just because superhero things is where the money's at, it's stupid crap like the Fantastic Four that's going to get people sick of superhero films, because they're going to make bad ones, and then people are going to turn on nerds, and just screw you, Fox. That's all I have to say. Screw you, Fox.
It's just going to be all bad.
It's going to be all bad. But thank you, thank you for joining us. We hope you liked that new segment that we had there. It's going to be a new weekly thing. Everything will be different. Just our time to spout off on whatever's on our minds. And so once again, we just want to thank you. Remind you to like our page on Facebook, Mad Nerds AZNV at Facebook, and Mad Nerds AZNV here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to us. If you're on iTunes, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Like our video. We always appreciate the support. And Mike, what's your Twitter handle again, just so people can find you? Twitter
at Mike is the Hat. YouTube, my personal channel at Mike is the Hat, and Twitch.com or Twitch.tv/Mike is the Hat. I'm easy to find on the internet. Type that stuff in to search. Look for the streams. I usually stream on Tuesdays, definitely for FIFA, and I'm working on a full-on schedule because it has to work around my actual work schedule. But check it out. I have videos up all over YouTube of games that I've played: DC Universe Online, FIFA, MLB The Show, EA Sports UFC. And I like that stuff's up there to see like my older things, but definitely check it out. Subscribe to my channel, the show channel, my Twitch channel, all the stuff that you could follow us on. Do it.
Yeah, Mike's on his quest to 50 followers on Twitch, and if you're his 50th follower, he will shout you out during pretty much every live stream he does. So that's a pretty big incentive.
Your name will definitely just be on my page forever until I decide, like, okay, it's taken off. It's the big milestone numbers I'm gonna leave up there.
Right, that's awesome. And then just once again, my pages are Superhero Deuce. Deuce is D-E-U-C-E, Superhero Deuce, all one word. Check me out on Twitter and on YouTube. I'm still working on getting some YouTube content ready as far as my Marvel Cinematic Universe predictions go. I've got a website as well that I'm working on through WordPress, wordpress.com/superherodeuce, where I'll be giving kind of some written things, some quick reviews on stuff, current event topics, just kind of my rants on a whole bunch of stuff. But once again, thank you for joining us. We'll be back midweek for our show. This has been Mad Nerds episode 3, Total Corruption.